Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrienne Berg, and this is the show that not only tells you what to see in Paris, but make sure you're healthy enough, motivated enough, and you've got the companionship to go and actually see it. Go on our website, agelesstraveler.com. You'll even find all of our podcasts, all of our blogs, but also an opportunity on the podcast page to leave us a voicemail. And yes, we have a very dynamic group of experts who will answer your travel questions. Now, today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to speak to somebody who's more than a travel writer. She's a poet. She's an instructor. She is a creative, as they say. And her name is Margaret Wagner. We're going to start our conversation with something that intrigued me. She followed in the footsteps of her mom, who took a lengthy European tour in 1951. You can do the math. I was 3 years old at the time, but it wasn't long after that, when I was 11, that I took my first trip. So I know what it was like to travel in the 50s and very early 60s. So this must have been an extraordinary journey. Margaret, thank you so much for sharing it with us. Tell us a little about your inspiration here.
Oh, thank you, Adrienne. It's just a pleasure to be chatting with you today. I felt like I was kind of inspired all my life, because my mother would every now and then tell me these amazing stories about her trip. She traveled for 7 months, and it was 6 years after World War II. Europe wasn't even fully rebuilt at that time. And she went with a college friend. And it just seemed so bold and adventurous at the time. It wasn't really even a time when women were traveling by themselves too much. So I love these stories that she told me, and I just thought they were marvelous. I thought it would be good to try and record some of her stories. Unfortunately, she passed away before I ever got to do that. And a year after she passed, this was in 2014, I found something in the bathroom. So it was a cardboard box under shower curtain liners, of all things. And it contained all of her slides and some journals and a few letters, like the old airmail, letters.
Yep, I remember them very well. Yep.
And even some letters from my dad that he had mailed to her in Europe when he was trying to court her, and she was very far away. And I just thought, wow. So I delved in and started reading things, and I found out, wow, my mother stayed up until 4 a.m. dancing, and she went here and there. And I didn't hear that part of the story. So I thought, what if I retraced her journey, and maybe I could feel closer to her and also touch that joie de vivre that I always felt she had when she retold the stories.
This is a cautionary tale. Don't get rid of your photos.
Right.
We're all travelers. Keep your memos. Keep your postcards. Send postcards. Forget always about Instagram. Once in a while, you can write something down. They still sell postcards. And we just did a wonderful podcast, which we'll find with Marty McNabb. She goes all over this country. Listen to this, Margaret. And she asks people to show her their souvenirs.
Oh, that's
yes. And she writes their story down as a living, terrific, a living legacy. Okay. So you really walked in your mom's footsteps. Now, I remember I was 1963 or 4 going with the very first travel book, Frommer's Europe on $5 a day.
Yes.
But how did you put together her itinerary? Did you do it from the postcards or the stories? How did you put the itinerary together?
Right. Because the verbal stories she told me, they were all over the place. I really didn't get a sense of, the itinerary. So I knew she started in Le Havre, France, that she got, off the ship at that point. And her journals did say this is where she started. And she did date some of the journal entries. I'd look in those entries and try and follow along. So eventually I could map it out and on a modern map. And sometimes it was hard. It was like, I don't know this city. I can't read her handwriting and it's not really clear, but I got the sense of the arc of the journey, which was from the top of France in Le Havre, down to Paris, down through France, over the Pyrenees, Spain, Madrid, Seville, Gibraltar, then back up the other coast of Spain, south of France, Italy, Germany, Scandinavia, Scotland,
Wow.
and England.
So I have to share something. I am going right now as we're speaking, leaving. When this is aired, I'll already be there on your mom's journey. Are you ready? In reverse.
Oh, that's fabulous. I wish I were going with you.
Yep. I'm starting in Madrid. I'm going to Andorra in the Pyrenees. I'm going through France, and I'm going to England, Iceland, Greenland, which you probably didn't get to, and then down to Germany and then south of France. And everybody complains to me, Margaret. They say, you got a travel show, but you never tell us where to go. Well, I'm going to tell. I think what we do is more important, but okay, you got me. I will be Instagramming and telling you all where to go. Let's go back to you, Margaret. So I want to point out to everyone listening who does travel and would like to be a travel writer that you don't always have to write a guide. Here is Margaret, who is a writer. By the way, one of her two websites happens to be Write in the Beat. That's BEAT.com. You'll have that on the show notes, and MargaretWagner.com. She's a writer, but she's not writing necessarily about where to eat in Paris. She's writing about her mom's journey. When you started this journey, did you expect to be writing about her or the places? What was in your intentionality in doing this?
I'm kind of thinking this whole project and whole adventure is like a search for mother. My mother had passed away. It's quite unmooring for parents to pass. My dad had passed away as well. And I wanted to be closer to her, and especially that period where she felt so alive. It's hard to know if it was because she was in her, young 20s, early 20s, and a lot of times everyone feels so excited at that point. I was in New York City in my 20s, and it certainly felt like the whole world was ahead of me. And I think it also just like to figure out, well, she seemed like a conservative, mother, pillar of the community where I grew up in Pennsylvania. And how was this trip pivotal, different? How was it maybe her true spirit? So that's what I was searching for, to get really closer to her in all kinds of different ways.
And did you start in Le Havre? Was that your very first stop?
I didn't. I haven't been doing it chronologically in time, although I have been to Le Havre. So I actually first started in the south of France. After my dad died, I had some time, and I got into a program where I was in a dance movement program every 6 months north of Montpellier, France. And I thought, well, I'll just add on to that trip. And I'll take a few weeks before, a week after to travel and to research. So the first piece was a little bit the south of France and then parts of Spain. That was my first one. Then I went to mainly Copenhagen after one of the trips that I took, one of the dance programs. And since I've been to Scotland and some of England, I've been to most of the Scandinavian countries. And most recently, I went to Switzerland and Germany.
Now, in following her footsteps and trying to kind of reestablish the vitality and the vibrance of who she was, instead of the good, solid citizen that you knew,
right.
What was the most instructive? Was there a restaurant, a hotel, a street, just an atmosphere that said, you know what, I get it, Mom?
Yeah, I think, one of the first trip that I took when I went to Spain, I visited Alhambra.
Yes.
So it happened to be a day of the year when they open up Alhambra and basically the whole town can go for free. Mm-hmm. So this can create some complexities because there are even less tickets than normal. So no one could get me tickets when I went. And I decided to just walk through the little entryway, and there's kind of some things you can see before you can actually get into a place where you show your ticket at Alhambra. And I wasn't too encouraged because there was a large group, like a tourist group ahead of me, and they got turned away. But in my very bad Spanish, I was trying to explain to the guard, I'm only one person. Do you have any tickets? I had to ask everyone along the way until I got to her and actually had to show a ticket. And she was like, well, wait here. So I waited a long time. I wasn't sure she was really ever going to come back. And she came back with a ticket. And I felt like, well, my mother is really looking over and providing for me, so to speak, that I could get even into the place. So I spent the rest of the day walking around and just enjoying everything. I found the pictures of my mother in these great, the great white filigree
Yes.
walls of Alhambra. So I could really picture her. And I saw the woman who gave me the ticket and tried to explain in detail that I was here because my mother was here, decades earlier, and it was really important to me. And I think we both ended up just crying, and I was so thankful she gave me the ticket. And there was another instance where I really had a lot of tears in Alhambra because I was just missing my mother. I stayed in the same hotel where she stayed too.
Yes.
There.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that was one instance where I felt she must be looking over me.
Looking over you. Yes.
Yeah.
Le Havre is one of my favorite places on earth. It is not, it's not a pretty city, but it's good enough for me. And it's on the water, and it's really easy to get from there anywhere. It also has some of the finest museums on the water for those who love Impressionism.
Yes.
And so it really is a place where you can spend quite a bit of time, more than you think. But the Alhambra is like a time capsule because it is Moorish. You see the beautiful filigree, you see all of the arches. It's a mosque, but then again, Christians took over. So in the middle, you're going to see statues of Christ and the Holy Lady. So it's a history lesson all by itself, the Alhambra.
Oh,
it's huge.
Totally.
And it's huge. Easy to stay a day. So these are some of the fabulous memories, but also the fabulous places. And I'm going to suggest to people that when they travel, a lot of people say to me, Margaret, I used to travel all the time. I don't want to travel anymore. I'm burned out. There's nothing to see. I'm not kidding you. I've heard this 1,000, nothing to see. Okay. Take a reason, have a life purpose to go. Step in Margaret's shoes. Why are you going there? Take a history tour. Take a tour that takes you from, particularly in Scotland, let's say, from one author's home to another. You'll see things from a totally different perspective than just another, or go to the UNESCO sites. I love to check off UNESCO sites. So have a purpose, have a reason. Hers was very heartfelt and very personal, but you can create one too, and it will reestablish your wonderful feelings about travel. Now, when we come back, I want to speak to Margaret about another aspect of her life, although I'm far from finished on this one. And that is, she mentioned her dancing. She said, well, I was in France because I used to take my dance classes every few months. I want to talk about her poetry, her dance. Don't you guys go anywhere. What are you doing between March 29th and April 12th, 2025? Are you going on safari? Well, we are. Please come with us on our very first Ageless Traveler trip. I will make sure that you see everything that's on your bucket list. We're going with the very famous Colette Tours, one of the oldest tour operators in the United States. They know us, they respect us, and they provide for us everything that we need. Yes, we are going to Kenya. We will see the city of Nairobi. We're going to the Serengeti. We will see the Big Five. We will also have adventures of a lifetime. If you have been studying safari, or even if you have gone on many safaris, this is something really different. So how do you find out about it and get your special discounts because you're an ageless traveler? Very simple. Go to agelesstraveler.com. That's our website, agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at featured trips. Get the details by clicking right there. You can do everything from inquire, get your question answered, to book right away so that you're going with us. It is a terrific, terrific tour. And by the way, you can also go to the Masai Mara on an optional pre-trip tour. There's a lot more to it than that, because there's yet more opportunity if you have longed to trek with the gorillas in Uganda. Yep, we can make that happen too. So please take a look at agelesstraveler.com, featured travel, and go on safari with us. And now we are back, and this has been a fascinating concept. Here is Margaret Wagner, our guest. She is somebody who's a poet. She's a dancer. She's a creative. You can find out about her in writeinthebeat, BEAT.com or margaretwagner.com in the show notes. Now, she's going on a trip in pieces, which she put together from her mom's memoirs, which she found in a box underneath some shower curtains after her mom passed away. I mean, really. And she recreated the itinerary in pieces. And as you would listen to our first segment, you would see that in the Alhambra, there was really one of these wonderful heart-to-heart moments that she had. And we want to talk about how she translated some of these experiences into her memoir. But first, I want to set the stage a little bit. I know that you do some interesting things. So tell us a little bit about the dance world that you're in and the poetry world that you're in.
Oh, sure. I love those too. Oh, the dance world. I think I always loved to dance, but I never thought I would be going to weekly classes or even leading dance myself. So about 25 years ago, I discovered 5 Rhythms, which was developed by a woman named Gabrielle Roth. And we moved through 5 specific beats: flowing, staccato, chaos, lyrical, and stillness. I was able to move on the emotional field, the physical plane. I felt like I had so many more ideas that came up after moving. So later then, some of the 5 Rhythm folks developed what we call open floor, which is another dance modality. It's like mindful movement meditation, if you want to think of it that way. And that open floor is based on having resources like resources for life, opening and closing, dissolving, centering, spatial awareness, things like that. So the classes are kind of centered around possibly a theme and a body part. Well, I did discover that it really helped my writing or my poetry if I moved first and then wrote something. And I always thought, wow, it just feels so soulful and it sounds so much better after I've moved. And when we would move and then write a little bit in class, everyone's writing just was so beautiful. Of course, I've since learned there's much more revision that needs to happen after that. But I think I really started through poetry. I loved poetry since I was young and little. I love fairy tales. And so I just kept on writing little things. And then I had some success and I guess got intrepid enough to send my poems out. And some of them got published. And I started the first Solas or Travel Writers Award that I got. I didn't find out about it until after my mother had passed away, unfortunately. And I really wish I had known beforehand because it was about traveling with my mother and my grandmother, and she would have really been so excited. Yes. So I started writing then about some family stories of travel. And I think how I approach the travel memoir is I try and take a lot of notes, in the field, so to speak. What do things feel like, sound like, using all the senses when I'm there in the moment, how they relate to my mother, how they relate to my life right now. And then there's some things that feel like I'm really compelled to talk about them and share them. For example, when I was in Glasgow, my mother had written that she loved this one particular Rembrandt in the Kelvin Grove Museum, which was called A Man in Armor. And I was wandering through the museum trying to find it. And I wasn't in front of it 10 seconds. And I thought, oh my heavens, this is my dad in profile. So I thought, wow, I wonder if she decided to marry my dad on the trip. She did share with him, he said not too many months before she passed away that she made the decision on this trip to marry him. He had asked her before she went, and she was kind of like, I got to think about it. Ask me again, later. And I wonder if subconsciously she saw him in this Rembrandt and something in her said yes. But so those are some of the, I guess, impetus for how I write. And sometimes it's surprising. In Rouen, in France, for example, I found out that I could stay at the hotel she stayed at, which was right across from the railway station. I wasn't quite sure how that would go. And it was also an American chain almost at this point. It was a Best Western. But they did advertise that it had been in the family for 5 generations. So I couldn't have been more surprised in how delightful this hotel was. And when my mother was there, I think it really had some celebrity cachet.
Yes.
They have a great chef and really seemed to the place to be at night. And I felt like I really felt her in the halls as I was walking up and down the halls, which were lined with these beautiful, etchings of Rouen.
So this is wonderful memories, but it's stimulating so much in my thinking. First of all, of course, I'm 76. I've been to 110 countries. We're adding about 6 or 7 new ones now.
Wow.
In the next few months. And my kids know it, and they think it's a pain in the butt for them because they are always worried about us, right?
Right.
So I'm hoping that one day they will take a look at our body of work and say, hey, these guys really enjoyed themselves. So I like that. The second thing I'm thinking of is, of course, when she went, there was no cell phone.
Right.
Today, you know that every single day, every day, more photos are taken per day than in the entire history of the world. Each day.
Oh.
That's how many people are out there taking pictures and selfies and everything for all kinds of reasons. So today, it's really easy. There's just no excuse. But I also remember religiously sending my mother my postcards because I had the opposite view. I was the traveler. My mom stayed home. And I was a young traveler. The first time I took my trip 6 weeks through Europe, I was 18 years old.
Oh,
it was quite amazing that she let me do it. But by then, it was very different. Everybody was running around from college. The thing to do was to go to Europe for the summer. Even if you had no money, I worked at JCPenney and I made some money. And I used my JCPenney money. But the thing is that we had $5 a day. Sometimes my food was soup. I would just have soup at the train station. But believe me, it was the best soup in the whole world, particularly in Berlin. Eat the Ebensup in the train station in Berlin. You'll never forget it. So for me, I was collecting my own memories, not following hers, and she was collecting mine. So
yes.
So that's what we're about here at the Ageless Traveler. That's why we have a Facebook salon. Shameless plug. Everything is free, so it's okay. Go to agelesstraveler.com and you'll see right on the front page, join our salon, our Facebook salon. And even if you don't use Facebook, you'll know how to do it right away. And share these things, share it with each other, and then we could share it with the world. So we'll come back, and I want to talk a little bit about writing. A lot of you write to me and say, I'd like to be a travel writer. And they think it has to be a guide. It doesn't have to be a guide. You don't even have to have a publisher. So we're going to talk about how you did it. Don't you guys go anywhere. How painful is it for you to be on an airplane sitting for 8 hours? Well, when I go to Asia, it's sometimes 18 hours. And yes, it can be very uncomfortable. So I ferreted out some wearables for you. T-shirts, socks, even blankets. They're called intelligent threads, and it's something quite unique. Take a look at our products and services page at agelesstraveler.com. I doubt you've seen anything like this. When I was at RadFest, which is a life extension and longevity conference, it was sold out. People were wearing these right there at the conference, trying them on and becoming pain-free. I did the very same. I actually just put a T-shirt on my back, and so did my husband. We didn't even put it over our head, and we were really feeling good after hours of standing on our feet, walking, bending down, and of course we've got computer shoulder and computer back. I would never show this to you and ask you to consider it if I didn't think it would make a difference in how healthy you travel and how much walking you can do while traveling. That's Intelligent Threads right on our website, products and services, agelesstraveler.com.
Great.
And now we are back, and we're back with Margaret Wagner. And I wanted her to be on the show for a number of reasons. One is the inspiration I get from the fact that she was able to reconstruct her mom's 1951 trip around Europe. She had the heart and the desire to do it. She tells us that she wants to get closer to her mother. She is adopted, but I still have that feeling that even if not, she wanted to be closer to her loving mother and see her mom in a different light. I think we all want that from our children. I will tell you, I'd like my kids to see me as a vibrant person, as opposed to just their mom. Okay, which is great to be just their mom. But second reason I wanted to speak to her is I get a lot of feedback from you guys that you would like to be published travel writers, and you think you have to go to Photos, A Lonely Planet, and say, I know everything about Mozambique. Let me be the guide. No. A word that was used by Margaret to me was a trend in narrative writing. So, Margaret, explain that to us.
Sure. So the Fromers, the guidebook writing, where to go, the 10 top things to see in a city, those are what we would call service pieces. People always want to know that. But there's also a trend of, putting yourself in the actual travel. And that's more of a partly personal narrative, almost a blend of the travel and memoir. So what makes it travel is that you really describe and illuminate the place. And a place can come alive not only by what you see, by what you hear, by what you taste, by what you smell, how things feel on your skin. So that makes very evocative writing no matter what. But there's a whole genre out there that's wonderful. And it really can encourage people to go on their own journey and create their own journeys. And I know the Ageless Traveler is such a great community. So there are lots of writing communities that can help you, travel communities that can help you. And sometimes it's capturing things not in 1,000 words, but it could be one really clear paragraph when you're in a place, just sitting in a cafe and saying, what do I hear? What did I just feel? What am I being served? That can really put someone there in the place, in the moment with you.
Well, that's really, it's not only inspirational, but it's very practical advice, to be honest with you. I'm a very prolific writer, and I've got a lot of books out. You can find them on Amazon. They're fine. They cost like 83 cents now. Used. So, and they're worth the price of 83 cents. But the fact is, I write all the time, and I write what you call service pieces. But in my heart, there's plenty of creativity. And I know that's true of my community. I know it's true of my community. And I know that they have life lessons that they can also impart through travel and the people they met. And I started many years ago something called Champagne Before Breakfast, which was the name of my travel memoir. And I never did it. It's as simple as that. I admit. I just never wrote it. I wrote the first 30 pages. And that's it. Because I never had the guts to show people the creative side of what I write. And I regret it. But it's never too late to be who you could have been. So I'm giving this pep talk to everybody listening. And I'm giving this pep talk to myself.
I think being a teacher and leading movement classes, I have seen everyone moves in a unique way. And everyone has a story to tell with their own movement, their feet, their hands. And I sincerely believe everyone is an artist, is a writer. Everyone has something to say. And it's your own unique style that comes through. So I definitely encourage everyone to just start wherever you are. Even if it's a list of words, that can be really fun too, about places you've gone and people you've met.
Well, this gives me two plugs. I actually did dance.
Cool.
Yes, it may even have been, I'm not sure, the Five Rhythms, because I went to the Modern Elder Academy, which is started by Chip Connolly. And
Wow.
I was the oldest one there. Most people were in their 40s. They were reinventing or rejuvenating themselves. And one of the things you had to do, you went to a separate studio. He has one in Santa Fe and one in the Baja, was you danced. And I'm a klutz, and I'm also right-left dyslexic. So don't do Zumba with me, because I'm going to go the other way while everybody's going right. I'm going left. So I'm not a great dancer. But you're right. It unlocks something. There is no doubt about that. So for those of you who want to really go do inner work, you could think of the Modern Elder Academy. So that's really one of the important things. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you, that when it's everybody that this generated, is that content is king. That's what they say in the marketing business. The more you can create and produce, you will find some asset that wants it. Because of the internet, because there are so many websites, so many podcasts, there'll be a place for you. Will you retire on the money? No, but it's wonderful. It's a wonderful outlet. So I appreciate this. And when we come back, we're going to wrap it up with going back to this memoir. And for you, what would you say made the biggest change in the way you think about travel from going through your mom's footsteps? Don't you guys go anywhere. If you take long trips or travel through different climate zones the way I do, you don't want to schlep a lot of luggage. Well, luggage-free ships to many of the hotels in the world, and mostly all the cruise ships. I've been recommending luggage-free for years to my friends and family, and I always hear the best rave reviews. So you visit agelesstraveler.com, products and services, to access luggage-free, get all the information, and stop schlepping. And now we are back, and we're going to wrap up with two questions that I think, one kind of touchy-feely, right, and one kind of practical. So we'll give you the touchy-feely one first, which is the following. You did not travel to sightsee. I am a curiosity traveler. I'm an addict. I hear about something, and I have to go and see it. I have learned that about myself. It started when I was very little. Very little. I could tell you the year. I can almost tell you the minute. It was 1954, only 3 years after your mom did her traveling. And Disneyland opened.
Oh,
LA.
wow.
Yeah, I have been to just about every place you mentioned. Now, I trekked in Bhutan. I've not yet been to Nepal. It's still on the list.
Wow.
But Mumbai and so on. And one of the places that I found most moving, I've been there twice, is Fatima, which is in Portugal. And it is a place... Yeah, it's a place like Lourdes, and people do come on their knees to see the statue, and it is a huge, huge complex. What I am finding is that the first time I went, I was extremely moved. But the second time I went, which is probably 20 years later, I went only last year or the year before, it was quite commercialized. And the reason was it gets so much traffic.
Yeah.
And so I'm very involved with issues of green and sustainable tourism and age-friendly tourism. We even give a designation at the Ageless Traveler. We have something called the Ageless Tourism for the tourism industry to be friendlier to the older adult. Because when you go into a very concrete situation, everything is made of concrete. The ticket booths are off-putting. You go through security. You have to leave your water bottle. It costs you a fortune. Nobody's really paying attention because they have to get back to their bus. All of these fabulous, organic, almost on the molecular level experiences that you can have when you travel sort of disappear. So there is a new trend. They call it slow travel.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of what you're talking about in Sacré-Cœur, where you really take the time to smell, to feel, to evaporate yourself into your environment.
Because if I hadn't just sat for a bit in Sacré-Cœur, I never would have seen anyone kneeling. You know,
True.
I just would have been one of the crowd walking through. And it really is because I kind of spent so much time in every place I could stop and sit and take things in that I think it was so memorable.
I will say, and I'm going to end on a lamentable note before I ask you my last question. For many years of my travel, I never took a picture. I don't lament that. It was great because I saw it with my eyes. But now that I have to publish those pictures, we have to take tons of pictures. And
Yeah.
I find myself looking through the lens more than looking at the item. And I know that's true. I know that's true of everybody who's traveling and selfies and all that stuff. So while it's so important as a way of sharing, it's not as good as a way of looking and feeling. So be aware, give yourself a few minutes where your cell phone isn't in front of your face. That's the best I could say. Now, let's wrap up here. So this is a memoir. It's going to come out. You've got a book of poetry coming out. You're an instructor. You do all these things. What is your next project now?
I always thought my mother's journey would make a great film and movie. So I don't know if there's something for TV or film that could happen from it, but that has been in my mind as well.
Well, I'm sure if it could, you would be the one to make it so.
Oh,
We thank you so much. And you know what I'm going to say to everybody else? This is the Ageless Traveler. We have everything for your needs to support you so that you never stop traveling. We make lifelong travel easy. Go to agelesstraveler.com. Join our Facebook salon. Take a look at our YouTubes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have some wonders there. And if you are a caregiver and you have not been traveling, please take a look at Caregivers, with an S, caregiverstravelguide.com. It's free. And for everybody, never stop traveling.